This is not an emergency Fed meeting happening today, but it is an already scheduled closed board meeting. And the timing probably could not be any better in terms of what is happening in terms of the S&P 500, in terms of monetary policy, in terms of the tariffs, in terms of the fear, in terms of everything that is going on right now. The circuit breakers were coming on. In this video, I want to show you what happened in the COVID swing lows when the Fed was having an actual emergency board meeting. I'm not saying this is an emergency board meeting, but the Fed is meeting amidst all of this fear. And right now, Bitcoin around $78,000 during all of this fear. I don't know if you were here or not, but during the COVID fear of 2020, Bitcoin around $4,000. Do you see the path in which crypto is headed? Crypto right now holding way stronger than I think most people are realizing. I want to break down Bitcoin charts. I want to look briefly at ADA charts to kind of give a visualization of altcoins. Hit the subscribe and like on the way in. Let's jump into the video very briefly. $4 trillion added in 20 minutes as there was this kind of fake news going on that Trump was considering a 90-day pause on tariffs. We have corrected since then, since the pump, but Tyler made a good point. And I want to just put this question out there to you. He said, market ripped on potentially fake news. There's the proof we need that this market is going to send the second tariffs are negotiated or removed. It's a race to get in before it explodes. My question, are you ready for that? I don't know, and I'm not saying the bottom is in at all. There is a very strong possibility we go lower to bottom out. And we can speculate all day about what that looks like, right? Kind of very similar to this previous August 2024 swing low. But when you're really thinking about this, and we're just really dissecting what is going on, S&P 500 on the weekly is at this area where the bottom has kind of formed on the RSI, the slower moving momentum oscillator. We're an oversold area. Historically, when you look back on this chart, this was the bottom. Here's back here in COVID. Here's the tariff fear of 2018. I don't know when the bottom will happen, but are you ready? During the COVID swing low, were you ready? Because markets recovered as often they do, and they go higher. So what I want to do is I want to show you, because this isn't an emergency closed board meeting today, but it's actually scheduled to happen on a very interesting day. If you look at, because there's a lot of pressure on the Fed and Powell to get with the program, lower rates, start their pivot, and now there's never been so much pressure because of what's happening with tariffs. Here's the COVID swing low. So what I really want to point to your attention actually kind of can help us visualize continued downside actually, and what to be prepared for in maybe the days or weeks ahead. So March 3rd, 2020, all of the craziness that was happening with COVID, what the Fed did, and that was like right here, is they had an emergency meeting. And then they announced that they were basically cutting the federal funds rate by 50 basis points right here. And it was going to 1 to 1.25%. Notice how that wasn't the bottom. Markets weren't like, all right, the Fed is pivoting, let's pump now. It wasn't the bottom. We continue lower. And then it was March 15th, 2020, right around here, where the Fed had a closed emergency meeting, and they slashed federal funds rate by 100 basis points to 0.0 to 0.25%. Now, when they did this, notice now we're days away from the bottom. We even went lower, but the bottom was in. What is the Fed going to start doing now? That is the question I have for the days and even the weeks ahead. And to go back to Tyler's point, it's a race to get in before it explodes. Are you ready? Because right now, there's obviously a lot of fear, but deals are being done. The Europe or getting ready to be done. The European Union is suddenly ready to negotiate for zero tariffs with the US. This is breaking news, and so many countries are doing this, are reaching out to negotiate now. This is going to have a net positive for America, and I think the markets are going to bounce similar to what they did at the COVID swing lows. And if we go to S&P 500, similar to what they did at the 2018 tariff swing lows, the tariff fear swing lows. So many similarities on these charts. So what I want to do is I want to look at the fear index, because notice this is another kind of interpretation of just the bottoming out of markets as we get overly fearful as the markets are getting overly fearful. Because I don't know about you, I'm not overly fearful right now at all. I'm just kind of like hanging in there because we've seen this story play out so many times. So 2025 tariff panic getting crazy on the monthly. COVID, we're working into the COVID fear. Look how high COVID went, right? Wicked up, and then it was just boom, reversal. 2018 tariff panic. We've already surpassed that area. 2008 crash, when things got very, very volatile and bad, the bottom was forming. We're wicking into that area on the monthly. It is time right now to pay attention. And so we go back to the monthly or to the daily on Bitcoin, and we are at $78,000. It's insane to me to think, as we're getting this oversold and markets are trying to find their bottom, they're going to find their bottom, I think, in the coming days or weeks. I'm not saying the bottom is in, but maybe Bitcoin goes lower. We have a Fibonacci. We discussed a higher low Fibonacci, $62,000 to $72,000 range, right? If I chart that, it was the August 2024 swing low to swing high. We've already got our throwback to the neckline of the inverse head and shoulders we were anticipating anyway. We're at the target right now. You see that red line? That's a massive multi-year neckline. It's just a nice technical move. Maybe we go lower. Maybe markets need to go lower. But Bitcoin in the 60s, and during the COVID crash, Bitcoin was at like 4,000. Do you see the trajectory that crypto is on? Here's ADA, 57 cents. We have more targets to the downside that we talked about in yesterday's video. Altcoins could go lower, but right now ADA at 57 cents. Do you remember COVID swing low? ADA fell below 2 cents. We are in a higher low trajectory for these markets. And right now, we've never seen this era that we're about to step in for crypto, the deregulation, America becoming the crypto capital of the world, and institutions coming on board with even altcoins. We are in a brand new phase. And right now, markets are in a high fear, oversold environment, and crypto is actually holding strong. And I really think many people are missing that point because we are so zoomed in on these charts, right? It's like if you zoom in on an ADA chart, it looks absolutely terrible. Even if you zoom in on a Bitcoin chart, it looks absolutely terrible. But do you see the long-term game that is happening here on these crypto charts? So there is so much going on right now. And ultimately, the tariff fear, I think, is a bit irrational in terms of how I think these tariff headlines are going to end up playing out. Very bullish for America, very bullish for the economy, ultimately bullish for these markets as we are in a high fear oversold environment. So I didn't want to do any price analysis. I want to see how today plays out. I don't know how the Fed closed board meeting is going to go. I don't know what's going to come out of it. It's not, I want to say it again, it's not an emergency meeting like we had at the COVID swing lows, but very interesting that they're meeting right now. It's pretty timely, I would say. Let's see what comes out of it, if anything. And let's continue monitoring all of these markets because we're in a high fear environment. We could go lower. S&P 500, you see that 200-week moving average around $4,700. Let's just prepare for everything. But I would like to do a video later if we get some kind of more news surrounding all of these events or even some price action. So hit the subscribe, turn notifications on. If you're out there, please be notified when I'm doing these videos. And if you enjoyed the video, smash that like button. Your support just means a ton to me, especially as we're going through these crazy volatile times. It's nice to know that you all are out there. We're almost at 400,000 subs, which is awesome. It's been kind of grueling getting there because we're in this like high fear environment, but I appreciate each and every one of you, almost 400,000 people out there. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.